So I was up at 11:30 last night, not because the kids were up. They were fine. I was Googling whether my 4-year-old should be reading by now. And I found one article that said early reading is a sign of giftedness and you should encourage it as much as possible. And then literally the next one said pushing reading too early causes stress and burnout and kids should be playing until they're 7. Cool. Great. So she's either gifted or I'm ruining her. Got it. And I just sat there in bed, phone screen burning my eyes, and I thought, what am I even doing? Because this happens to me all the time now, not just with reading, with everything. With every single choice I make for my kids, there's a study that says I'm right and a study that says I'm wrong. Every single one. Like sport. I signed my 6-year-old up for netball this year because kids should be active, right? Move their bodies, good for their health, good for their bones, good for making friends. But then I read that you shouldn't start kids in team sports too young because it puts too much pressure on them. And that kids actually need more free play, less structure, more time just being bored and making stuff up in the backyard. So now I'm sitting on the sideline at netball on a Saturday morning, wondering if I've done the right thing or if I've just signed her up for burnout at age 6. She's 6. And then there's the after school stuff. My girls do dancing because they love it. It's good for their muscles, good for their growing bodies, good for balance and all that. And then I looked into piano lessons because apparently music is amazing for brain development. But then someone told me kids are too overscheduled these days, that they need downtime, that they're filling their weeks with too much and they don't know how to just be. So what do? Do I sign them up for everything so they don't miss out? Or do I pull them out of stuff so they can stare at the ceiling and build character? I genuinely don't know. Screens. Oh God, screens. So this one makes me want to throw my phone in the bin, which is ironic because my phone is the problem. So the guidelines say limit screen time, 2 hours or less or whatever it is. And I really do. But then there's this app that Kindy told us about that's meant to be great for learning letters and numbers, and it's on a screen. So is that good screen time? Is there good screen time and bad screen time? Because some days, the only way I get 5 minutes to cook dinner without someone hanging off my leg is Bluey. And I love Bluey. Bluey's a great show, but I still feel guilty turning it on. Even though it literally teaches my kids about empathy and feelings and stuff, I still feel guilty. Because some article told me I should. Food. Let's talk about food because this one does my head in. So I packed my daughter's lunchbox last week. Sandwich, yogurt, crackers, some strawberries, and a tiny little chocolate bar, like one of those fun-sized ones. And I felt weird about it because I've read that you should never use treats as a reward or make them a big deal. You should just include them sometimes so kids have a healthy relationship with food. So I put it in. But then I've also read that sugar affects their focus and behaviour and you should keep lunchboxes whole-based foods. So now I'm standing in the kitchen at 7 a.m. having a moral crisis over a Milky Way. A Milky Way. That's where I'm at. And sleep. Don't even get me started on sleep. My 4-year-old still comes into our bed some nights, and I've read that co-sleeping builds attachment and makes kids feel safe and secure. Beautiful. But then I've also read that kids need to learn to self-settle and sleep on their own or they'll never be independent. So either I'm building a secure bond or I'm creating a child who will need me to lie next to her until she's 35. One of the two. No in between, apparently. Sunscreen. This one's a newer one for me. I have always been the mum who lathers them up before school, like head to toe, SPF 50, every single morning, because skin cancer is real and we live in Australia and that's just what you do. But then I saw something that said kids aren't getting enough vitamin D and that we're so scared of the sun that our kids are now actually deficient and that some sunscreens have chemicals in them that might not be great either. So now I'm standing at the front door with a bottle of sunscreen in my hand and a vitamin D article in the other, just frozen. Do I protect her skin or do I let her get some sun? Both feel wrong. Oh, and here's one that really got me, was socializing. My 6-year-old is a bit quiet. She's not shy exactly. She just takes a while to warm up. And I mentioned it to someone, can't even remember who, and they said I should set up more play dates, get her out of her comfort zone, help her practice social skills. So I did. I set up a play date and she hated it, cried when the kid left, but not because she was sad, but because she was overwhelmed. And then I read that some kids are just wired to need less social time, that forcing it can actually make anxiety worse. So cool, I forced it and now I feel like rubbish. School readiness is another one. My little one started school this year, and I've had people tell me she should know her letters, be able to write her name, and sit still for 20 minutes and hold a pencil properly. And then the teacher was like, no, don't worry about all that. They'll learn it at school. Let them play. Let them be kids. But then another teacher said it really helps if they know some of the basics coming in. So which one is it? Do I sit down with her and do letter tracing, or do I let her play in the mud and hope for the best? Because right now I'm doing both and feeling bad about both. And that's the thing. That's what gets me. It's not that the information is out there. It's that all of it is out there. Every opinion has a study behind it. Every choice has a counter-argument. Every single thing I do as a mum, someone somewhere has written an article about why it's wrong. And I'm a nurse. I train to look at evidence. I'm trained to read research and make decisions based on facts. But even I can't figure this out because the facts don't agree with each other. I think what really gets me is the guilt, because I don't just read this stuff and move on. It sits with me. It follows me around. I'll be at the park watching my kids play and I'll think, should they be climbing that? Is that too dangerous? Or is it good for their risk assessment skills? I read something about that too, by the way, that kids need to take physical risks to develop properly, but also that playground injuries are on the rise. So, pick a side, Lucy. And I think the worst part is that I don't even trust myself anymore. Like my gut will say one thing and then I'll Google it and Google will say something completely different. And then I go with Google because Google has a study and I'm just a mum. But I know my kids. I know them better than any article does. I know that my 6-year-old needs a quiet afternoon after school or she falls apart by dinner. I know that my 4-year-old eats better when I don't make a big deal about what's on her plate. I know these things because I live with them. I watch them every day. But somehow that doesn't feel like enough because there's always another expert, another opinion, another mum on Instagram who seems to have it all figured out with a color-coded lunchbox and a calm voice. I had a moment the other day. I was making dinner. Both kids were on the iPad and I just stood there staring past her thinking, I'm a bad mum. Not because anything bad was happening. Everything was fine. The pasta was fine. The kids were watching some drawing tutorial thing. But I just felt it, that heaviness, that voice in my head going, you should be doing more. You should be doing better. You should be reading to them right now. You should be doing flashcards. You should be making the pasta from scratch with organic tomatoes from your own garden. And I don't even have a garden. I think what I'm trying to say is that I'm just tired. I'm tired of second guessing every single little thing. Tired of feeling like I need a PhD in child development just to pack a lunchbox. Tired of reading one thing, feeling good about it, and then reading the opposite and feeling like rubbish. I just want to make a decision and not feel bad about it. That's it. That's all I want, to put the Milky Way and the lunchbox and move on with my day. To let my kid watch Bluey while I drink a hot cup of tea. To not Google, is my child behind at midnight. And look, I know I'm not the only one who does this, or at least I hope I'm not. Because if it's just me sitting in bed at 11 p.m. reading about whether my kid needs more iron in her diet or if too much red meat is bad for them now, then I've got bigger problems. But I reckon, and I hope some of you are doing the same thing, lying in bed, phone in hand, reading something that makes you feel like you're getting it all wrong. And if you are, can you just tell me? Send me a message, leave a comment, something, because I really need to know it's not just me losing my mind over a fun-sized Milky Way.